Hi, my name is Jimmy Williams with NFL Draft Diamonds. And I have a diamond in the rough for you guys to meet today. His name is Jake Walrath. He is a punter out of Central Michigan, formerly from Charlottesville, and I believe also Utah State. So you've been a bit of a journeyman, right?
Yes, sir, I have.
Yeah, uh, go ahead and if you don't mind, just introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, and we'll begin in your story, okay?
Yes. All right. Appreciate you for having me on here. My name is Jake Walrath. Like you said, I'm from Slato, Texas, small town in central Texas. So I started out my career. I had one opportunity to walk on as a kicker to Abilene Christian, and so I went there my first semester, and there's five kickers on the roster, and there's one punter. And so the special teams coach said, "Hey, if you ever see yourself playing, football, you ought to make the switch to punter." And so that was when I really focused all my, efforts and attention on punting. And so that year I had a good fall camp, but I lost the job to a junior. His name is Simon Laurier. He ended up playing in the CFL. And so after that semester, I wanted a place where I could compete, and I just wanted to play, man. And I felt like I was good enough to really compete. But I wanted a better opportunity at a place, that was bigger than, FCS. And so I got a connection. I had a connection with Utah State. I knew their one of their kickers, and so he got me, in front of the special teams coordinator there, who's now I think he's at Penn State and just went to Boise, back to Idaho. But I got there and he gave me the preferred walk-on job. There's a 6 year and there's a JUCO guy to compete with, and I was there in the spring semester and I loved it, man. Utah State was awesome. If you know anything about Utah State, man, it's in Logan, Utah. It's in the canyon. It's a great place to go to college. But towards the end of that semester, my dad had given me a call, and he had told me that my mom had terminal cancer. And so I made a decision to come back to Texas. And at that point, I didn't really care about division or anything. I wanted to get home and I wanted to play and be there for my mom. And so Tarleton State was one of the schools that wanted me out of the portal. I had high school coaches that all went and played there, and so I had a lot of connections go there. And so I ended up deciding on Tarleton State, and at the time they were Division II, and I went in and I eventually won the job. And I got to be there and play for my, in front of my mom. I also got to be back home and just kind of be with her, most every weekend. But yeah, so that was a tough time. And then in spring 2020, she passed away, but that was during COVID. And honestly, that was a blessing for me and my family because I was able to be back and see her during that whole COVID, at home thing. So, um, but I draw a lot of inspiration from her and my dad. I feel like the way I am, to this day is from those two people. But I eventually went on. One of the first things I did when I got to that school, since I knew I wanted to play, and I finally had an opportunity, I went and looked at the record books, and I was like, I'm just going to be I'm going to be on this record book one day. And sure enough, through a lot of good coaching from Coach Walton, Coach Witten, the head coach there, and then also just a ton of hard work year round, man. Like, I'm such a dedicated punter, man. I do this like I really do this stuff, man. I'm always doing drills. I'm always doing whatever, getting my way in. And so I eventually broke the season average record and net average record with 42.6 my junior year. Went on to set other school records and average, and I got to a point where I so we had moved up to FCS, but since we were a transition program, my stats were not showing up on the NCAA website. And after my junior year, I was like, man, I really think I can do this. Because every summer and spring break, I was going back to Birmingham, training with all these pro guys, and really good college guys. Rico is a good friend of mine that I can go back with competing with him, and guys like that. And so, man, I got to that point where I was like, dude, I really think I could do this, like, professionally. And so I made a decision to enter in the portal. after 4 seasons at Tarleton, and using my COVID year, my 6th year, and I decided upon Central Michigan. So that was an interesting choice. So I had a lot of opportunities and offers from bigger schools, Group of Five, Power Five, even University of Texas, which is the school my mom went to, and I grew up watching a lot of UT games, and that was hard to turn down. But Central Michigan really stuck out to me because of a coach there, and his name's Keith Murphy. And Coach Murphy he played at Washington, but he coached at Florida, and he coached 4 NFL guys. He coached the Townsend brothers, Johnny and Tommy, and he coached Eddie Pinheiro, and he coached Evan McPherson. And man, when it was 2 weeks in the portal, and he got on the phone with me, and he put his money where his mouth was, and wanted to, he saw the potential in me, and just wanted to get to work. And so he had me out for that visit, and man, it just felt like a special place, and really the right place and the right opportunity. And so I went and took it. And funny story, man, it's crazy. I have family in Michigan. My Aunt Loredana and uncle live up there. But it's crazy, man. I like 20 minutes from Central Michigan. I have like my great parents were buried there or something. So
Hmm.
they like made the migration from New York to Michigan to Montana and Wyoming, and that was on my dad's side. But yeah, man, that's pretty much the story right there.
Well, interesting story. Obviously, just certainly bumps in the road and trying to find your home, but also surrounding yourself with a lot of great people, who are helping you out along the way, coaching you up, and putting you in position to succeed. So, kind of want to talk a little bit about maybe perhaps the beginnings of you as a specialist. I mean, you had mentioned there at the beginning that one of the reasons why you made that switch from kicker to punter is essentially at a need. Again, coming to college, but I don't think a lot of kids early, when they're in high school or middle school, like they dream about being a kicker at a very young age. Like, when was it for you, man? How did you ultimately end up a specialist as a kicker and punter?
Yeah, so that's also a crazy story. So I think everyone remembers the 2013 Iron Bowl game for the kick six, right? And so I remember, I'd watched UT games, my whole life. Justin Tucker, Nick Rose, all those great kickers. But the one thing, for whatever reason, it really resonated with me. So in that Iron Bowl game, Daniel Carlson was the kicker for Auburn, right? And now he was a freshman, and he was the kickoff guy, the punter, the kicker. And I remember just hearing the announcers talk about it during the game. They're like, this young freshman was the number 1 kicker in his class, but he was just once a tall, lanky soccer player, and eventually worked and got a scholarship to play college football. And being a soccer player, being tall and lanky, as a kid, like it kind of, I was like, man, that sounds a lot like me. And so obviously with the crazy ending, you don't want to be a kicker probably after that moment. But there's just something about kicking that just like lit a passion inside of me. And so I went to my dad and I was like, hey, is there any way we can like build some field goal posts in our backyard? And he said, yeah, let's do it. And so we went and got some PVC pipe field goals, and man, I would just spend hours back there just kicking field goals. And so that's kind of where it all started. And then, fast forward, I actually didn't, I played middle school football. I was a tight end, and I played defensive back also, safety and corner a little bit. But it wasn't until my sophomore year where I gave it a try, for real. And so I had his name is Colonel. We called him Colonel. But I got stationed. My dad got stationed up in Fort Knox, and so we went up there. And that's the year I gave it a try. And this guy, he was an 86-year-old assistant coach, and he was a kicking coach for the school. And I mean, this guy was a legend, man. He was helicopter pilot in Vietnam, just a badass man. And so he was the one that really first started, coaching me. He was my first real kicking coach. And the cool story about this guy, man, he recently passed as well, but he gave 30 to 40 kids opportunities to kick at the next level in just this small area in northern Kentucky. And it was
Wow.
just one of those like legends of the area, just a blessing to, just to cross paths with a guy like that. And kind of alluding to what you said earlier, man, it's just been people in my life has made this journey special. And it's just been a really great experience.
Nice. So again, early on, like you said, I mean, you actually did play some other positions in high school, but I mean, really, I don't know, focused more on it. You said it was your sophomore season, right? So,
Yeah, my
uh,
sophomore
so,
season was I was just a kicker.
so
But when I went back to Salado, I played some tight end, I played some corner, and I kind of want to talk on this real quick. So we ran slot T, and for I'm sure the people that watch this know what slot T is. But you just turn on a tape of 1930s football. That's basically what we were doing. We didn't punt on fourth down. All you needed was 3.2 yards, and you're solid. So that's kind of what we did.
well, I mean, whatever works. I mean, obviously depends on your coach and how he, wants to win games. But interesting. So, you're a punter, and you're coming out of high school, like you're really diving into this thing, and so again, just a recap on that journey. You said Abilene, Christian, Utah State, Tarleton State, and obviously Central Michigan. Which, man, that's a lot of crazy spots. Let's just be real. But a lot of people along the way, a lot of reasons for that. Also, you had mentioned, you know, being close to home, being close to family, was a big influence in that, of course. But you got yourself on your way. So um, let's talk about you as a punter. Now, obviously, we're speaking to each other because you want to make it at the next level. And so, what does an elite punter look like? Well, when you look at them at the next level, when you look at them at the professional level, what do they look like?
Man, first of all, they're kind of taller guys for the most part. Your kickers are a little shorter, a little taller. They're kind of, short torso, long arm, long leg, guys. Athletic as well. You see that a lot, especially nowadays. But really, it's more about the internal makeup of a guy. Because the thing is, at this level, and especially people in my position where I'm at, there's a lot of us that can just nuke the ball, right? But it's about can you do it on a consistent basis in practice, and can you show up in games? I would say the internal makeup, man, you got to be stoic, you got to be mentally strong, and you got to have great practice habits. I think for me, what's got me to this level is I'm just obsessed with like preparation, and I've always looking for the upper edge on everything. I'm always seeking out knowledge and from older guys and coaches, and I apply it to my craft as well. So you have to be in tune with your signature touch. Everyone's got their own swing, and I think it's important to be your own coach and to be able to work your way through slumps, and know kind of how to self-diagnose. So I would say my strength is mentally. I feel like I'm just right there. I'm professional in what I do, and how I treat this craft.
I mean, definitely kind of on an island by yourself, and need to be able to function, of course. Um, let's try and bring people in on the day to day that it takes to be a punter. So, obviously, you do a lot of the same things as everybody else. I mean, you're also, you're going into the weight room, you're training. But let's talk more specifically about some of the drills that you do. What are some of the favorite drills that you like to, execute, on a day to day?
Right. So punting, and I just, to anybody, I think anybody that golfs kind of will understand this as well, but it's about having an efficient swing, right? And in the NFL, especially, you got to have a get off time of 1.25 to 135, depends on the system, the coach. But I work on trying to have an efficient swing and using my body, using my natural athleticism to get through a ball. And so there's a lot of drills that I like to do, but lately I've been more kind of trying to get in tune with the rhythm and the flow of walking momentum and using my body to get through a ball. And so one of the things we'll do to warm up is, I would say, like a driver, trying to just find that contact. If you can drop the ball a little bit lower to warm up, and hit it solidly every single time, that basically means that you don't have any wasted movement in your backswing. So that's what I like to warm up with. And then I'll progress into one steps. And one step is more about leverage. So I'm thinking about having a taller upper torso, good body lean. And then now I'm getting leverage into producing hang time through a ball. And then once I get past those two, I'll kind of put it all together and find the happy medium between a drive and a loft. And that's kind of, you're just trying to aim to hit your B plus, ball. You're not swinging too hard. You're letting your body do it, because at this point, man, like I've done drills, for 6, 7 years now. I know my body knows how to punt. I know how to punt. And so that's where you just kind of trust yourself and put it all together. And another thing is really important that I've been doing my whole career is I'm a directional guy. I'm anytime I'm punting, my landmarks are the numbers. I land, if I'm on a college field, I'm aiming for the top of the numbers because that's the bottom of the numbers in the NFL. So I always look for that. I've lately gotten into ball flight patterns, and being able to self-diagnose that. You're okay with hitting a fade, and you're okay with hitting a draw, but obviously slice hook, that's what you got to avoid. So I can pretty much gauge and really control the spread of my ball based off of what I'm seeing.
Gotcha. And obviously, in order for you to be effective out there, you really have to have a good relationship with the rest of the specialists out there, especially the long snapper.
Yeah.
Talk about your relationship, with the other guys there that you've been with really over your time in college, and how you guys have meshed.
Man, I've had some really great long snappers. I've had quite a few. Brandon was the snapper at Utah State. Brandon was a really solid guy. I obviously never got to take a snap from him in game, but kind of seeing him, the way he worked, was really inspiring. And then you kind of, like you alluded to, it's something that there's like a rhythm and a like a relationship that you can, and a chemistry with a really good snapper. You'll, especially on short snaps, you'll know like the variance of how much you need to tilt the ball back. A really good snapper is going to give you about half turn of variance. So having a guy that can find his laces and being able to also help a guy find his laces is kind of like really important there too. And then at the end of the day, it's just work. But man, I had Stephen Reeves. Stephen Reeves had a at Tarleton. He had a big mullet and a beer gut, but this dude put it on my hip every single time. So he was probably my most accurate snapper. And then after that, I had Brandon Oldham, best friend of mine. That guy is a interesting dude, but we had a really great time my senior year at Tarleton. And then I had Ben Pratt at Central Michigan, and Ben Pratt was a super hard worker, really intense guy. But man, I've just had some really great guys. But and just kind of cap it off, yeah, chemistry's big, but I would say the biggest thing is to have respect for each other, and also just being able to know how to work with different types of people, because you know some people some people need a lot of feedback. Some people just need positive reinforcement, and some people, you just got to give them their space and let them do their thing. And so it's just all about, you're right. It's a lot of chemistry, but a lot of hard work that goes into it as well.
Yeah, and at least when it comes to like your buddy at Tarleton, I mean, you kind of do have to become best friends with the guy who you're with all the time. Because I mean, heaven help you if you didn't click well or couldn't communicate effectively. Like, I don't know how that relationship would go otherwise. But
Yeah.
so the other thing, and I just kind of want to throw this your way is the other responsibility that punters tend to have is that of a holder. Um, Now, I'm pretty sure somewhere along the line you've been asked to do that. I mean, I don't know if that's something that you do regularly, but how has that been for you?
Yeah, so I was a 5 year starter at Holder, but that is, man, that's the bread and butter of being a punter in the NFL. Because I'm going to call it how it is. The most important special position in the NFL is the kicker. That's your point scorer. That's your guy that, as you get progress through the ranks of quality college, of quality football. NFL is at the highest quality, and that means game margins are close. And so having a solid kicker is as good as it gets in the NFL. And so the job of a holder is basically to make sure that kicker is comfortable and to make sure you're giving him the best opportunity to do his job well and to fulfill his potential. So holding is very important. It's more that meets the eye, but I think it's easy. Um, I mean, I feel like I've got natural hands, and as you go through the ranks, snappers get better, and like we talked about earlier, there's less variance in snaps. So getting to the pros, I'd say punting is easier and holding is easier. So just because you have a better snapper. So yeah, man, holding is very important, and it's a job I feel like I do
Of
very well.
course. So, you had mentioned earlier on in your, I guess, you know, football journey that, you said you were a tight end of sorts. I don't know if that really helps your hand-eye coordination, but certainly, I mean, obviously you've had to, catch the ball as a punter. But it's a little different when it's coming as fast as it is when you're a little closer as a holder. It's almost like you're a shortstop, in baseball. I mean, it's like beeline and sometimes right towards your head. So you
Yeah,
definitely
yeah.
need to be prepared for that. Put it down, laces out, and be ready. But great. Jake, we're moving along with our interview here. I do want to get a moment to see if there's anything else about you that you want to share, whether it be hobbies, interests, talents, anything else that you want to share about yourself that might be of interest to others.
So I spent a lot of time playing FIFA. FIFA is my game. That's my hobby, I would say. I also played pickup basketball. I like hooping. Soccer was always my favorite sport, but there's something about playing basketball as well. But and then my interests. I'm a kinesiology major, exercise physiology. So that's kind of my passion, and I work currently as a personal trainer downtown in Birmingham. I train general population, but um, it's just something training is kind of one of the most favorite things I do. I love lifting. I'm kind of a meathead, admittedly. But yeah, so that's what I'm all about, man. Just lifting, training, playing FIFA, playing basketball.
Gotcha. So obviously training right now, working towards a pro day. Um, Pro days are happening right now, man, and it's hard to keep track of, what's going down. What's the day for you?
March 12th, it's this Tuesday. So I'm going to Central Michigan's Pro Day. Looking forward to it. Going back to Michigan. This time of year, it's a little cold, but I'm ready for it.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume are you just, punting, or are you gonna try and bench a little for fun?
Nah, so I'm gonna run the 40, do the three cone. I'll do vertical broad, and I'll punt. It's gonna be a game time decision on the bench. I think I'm locked in for 10 reps, but we'll see kind of how it goes and how I'm feeling that day.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. For some people, it's important. I don't know. I mean, honestly, I'd much rather see you do something else. I mean, for transitioning guys from looking at them as an athlete to some other position, I don't know how much a bench really helps a punter. I'm not too certain. Maybe if you were squatting or something, I don't know. But
Yeah,
we got to work
I
that into
think
the
there's
combine
some
somehow.
I think there is something to it. Upper body strength, is certainly one thing, but at the end of the day, like if you can exert force through your central nervous system, I think that's a reflection of how strong someone's central nervous system is. But then again, there's other, anthropometric, variances with that. You don't want to be a long arm bencher, and there's, certain things with that, but um, I think at the end of the day, the most important thing, and I think what a lot of people get kind of like washed up on is, and me too, I do this as well, but you got to look at the game tape on people, man. I think with other positions, it's really important to, I think, I think I've heard people say like, we can work with speed. So speed and athleticism is certainly a premium. But at the end of the day, as they say, tape don't lie. So that's what I think.
Yeah, and again, we're looking at a guy who's pretty darn big, upwards of 6'4". I don't know how much you're weighing these days, but the latest weight that was listed was 210, which I don't know if that's changed much, but I mean certainly given that sort of size, we're likely looking at a guy with very long arms. That's just sort of typical. So yeah, stay away from things until you know for certain that you're comfortable doing them there at your pro day. But though obviously, been great talking to you about your story. You have a very unique one. Again, windy road getting you to where you are right now, but certainly going to go out to your pro day here very soon to hopefully impress some scouts. As we wrap up, go ahead and tell those scouts what they'd be getting if they took a chance on you and gave you that opportunity. So go ahead and close us with your pitch.
Man, so first of all, you wouldn't be taking a chance. You're going to get a sure player. You're going to get a sure guy. Good team guy. Hard worker. The biggest thing I love is preparation and making sure I'm mentally prepared, physically prepared for any opportunity I get. But man, just look on the tape, turn on the tape. You'll see the player you're going to get. Big hang times. I can flip the field, and I'm just an overall great guy. So here we go. Give me a shot.
All right, Jake. Well, again, best of luck with what you got going on, and you take care. All right.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Sure. Once again, Jake Walrath, punter, Central Michigan. Check him out.